And it's time now for our In Focus Health Update. Health reporter Linord Moudou is here today to talk about autism. Hello, Linord.
Hello, Vincent. Well, World Autism Day was commemorated on Monday, and experts say the number of children affected with the developmental disorder is on the rise. Autism appears in the first 3 years of life. It affects the brain's normal developments of social, behavioral, and communication skills. The most recent statistics released by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show that 1 in 88 children are afflicted with autism. The CDC report, which analyzed data from 2006 to 2008, indicates a 23% rise in diagnosis of autism spectrum disorders over a 2-year period. The news could be most alarming for boys. The study reports that, on average, 1 in 54 boys was diagnosed with autism, compared to only 1 in 252 girls. Now, joining us on the phone from Bethesda, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C., is Dr. James Ball, President and CEO of JB Autism Consulting and Executive Chair of the Autism Society. Dr. Ball, welcome to In Focus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. What do you make of these new statistics that seems to show that there is an increase? What do you make of it?
I think from the Autism Society standpoint, we're not shocked at the numbers. 1 in 88 is something that I think we've seen coming in the last couple of years because of the amount of calls that we field through our call center, but also through, I think, the efforts of a lot of organizations in getting out, the proper diagnosis of these young people.
Okay, so in fact, it's a question of a better diagnosis as opposed to more children being actually affected?
I think there's several variables at play. I think one is the better diagnosis, but also because of the significant rise, looking at factors that affect the parent, the mother especially, and the newborn child or the child in vitro, really looking at environmental factors. And I know that a lot of the recent research is really looking heavily at the environment and a variety of other factors that might impact this disability.
Now, tell us some specifics with regards to these factors that you are mentioning.
I'm sorry?
What are some of those factors that you are referring to that can affect a child's development?
Well, I think just toxins in the environment. There hasn't been a lot of studies to look at the variety of toxins that people are exposed to on a day-to-day basis. I mean, there's a lot of theories out there, but I think the most important one and the one that people are researching the heaviest is that use of a variety of different toxins for whatever purposes, but the ones that are out there that may be affecting these newborn or these in vitro children.
The study also shows that there are more boys affected than girls. What do you make of it? Is there a specific reason? Do we know why?
We don't absolutely know why, but when you look at all disability groups, the male of the species is much more vulnerable in vitro and also at birth. We are the weaker sex, if I could say it that way, at birth, so they're susceptible to more of these types of issues.
Now, Dr. Ball, you've been in the field of autism for 25 years, and we see that the numbers are increasing over the years. Do you think that there is any type of improvements at all that have been made in terms of protecting children, or are they just vulnerable?
Well, I think that we know a lot more about autism today. We know a lot more about what services there needs to be in place in order for the children to be successful. We also have a lot of research out there that points towards the fact that early intervention is the way to go with this population, because the earlier we diagnose the child, the more quantity and quality the services, their prognosis long-term, their outlooks look so much brighter and better. So we do know that right now, especially from the Autism Society standpoint, is really getting the word out on the early intervention so that we can see these kids at younger and younger ages and start to get the therapies and services that they need to be successful at those ages, so that we see some of the remediation of some of the social issues, some of the behavioral issues, and some of the communication issues that they display as really young children, they start to wane as those services are provided.
Okay, great. Early intervention is key. Dr. Ball, we appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that was Dr. James Ball, President and CEO of JB Autism Consulting and Executive Chair of the Autism Society. Back to you, Vincent. Well, we go next to Ethiopia, where an education center in Addis Ababa is giving care and hope to children living with autism and their families. At the Joy School for Children with Autism in Addis Ababa, the parachute game is one of the more popular activities. The game is a way to encourage children with autism to play together in a fun and safe environment. Autistic children often find it hard to socialize with others. This school is one of its kind in Ethiopia. The center was founded by Zemi Yunus. Her 20-year-old son, Jojo, has autism.
My son was expelled from schools, from 5-6 different schools, because he showed different behavior. And people believed that he was a spoiled child. He didn't want to learn. He was a lazy boy.
Like many parents of children with autism, Zemi realized her son was different. For years, she struggled to get the development disorder properly diagnosed, and without an appropriate treatment program available, she was forced to leave Jojo at home.
My son Jojo was watching us through the window when we depart to, when I was taking my other son to his school, and it was so painful.
Zemi became familiar with autism when her husband saw a program about it in America. Using money saved from a job as a beautician, Zemi established the Joy Autism School in 2002. It now has more than 75 students and employs 30 full-time staff members. Elizabeth Tadele is one of the teachers at the school.
I feel very lucky to work with these children. These children need love and care. I'm always happy to give them affection. They need love and care more than anything. I will always work with them.
Betty is one of the younger children who recently joined the school. Her mother says finding the Joy School was a great help.
I used to work as a maid in many homes to bring her up, but since I had no one who can take care of her in my absence, I used to tie her hands and leave her with neighbors and go to look for work, like baking injera and making traditional drinks and washing clothes for people.
Zemzem Asefa is another parent who found relief in the school.
My life was hell. It wasn't life at all. I was in a very difficult situation until God brought Zemi to me. My son is so much better now. I am very happy and my house is full of peace. Change has come to our life since we met Zemi. My life would have been very different now if I hadn't met her.
Having a disability is still a major stigma in Ethiopia, especially in rural areas where there is little or no medical support for complex illnesses or conditions.
Well, now, Linord, thank you very much for the informative health segment on autism. Be sure to watch Linord Moudou's health updates every Tuesday and Thursday right here on In Focus.